Okay, so we're back for another deep dive, and this time we're tackling something you actually sent my way.
Oh, yeah, this one's gonna be good, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's really timely,
Right.
you know.
hmm
So this is all stemming from a daily devotional, and the focus is really on trying to kind of unpack and understand God's heart a little better.
Right, and we're gonna go deep on this so you don't have to sort through everything yourself.
Exactly. We want to do the legwork for you, so to speak, and
That's right.
yeah. And the passage this particular devotion zeroes in on is Amos, chapter 2, verses 1 through 16.
Okay, Amos.
Amos.
Got it.
Now, there's one verse that really jumped out at me, kind of as like the centerpiece here, as is verse 6. This is what the Lord says. For 3 sins of Israel, even for 4, I will not relent. They sell the innocent for silver and the needy for a pair of sandals.
Wow. Okay, yeah, that's heavy stuff right there.
It is.
So imagine this, okay, God is like in the courtroom, and he's not just kind of watching things unfold from a distance. No. He's speaking directly, like as if he's, the prosecutor.
I like that image.
Yeah, in the beginning of Amos, it focuses on all the bad things the surrounding nations are doing.
Right.
But then chapter 2, that's where things take a turn because it shifts the focus to Israel itself.
The chosen people.
Exactly, the ones who are supposed to be in covenant with God. And that really raises the stakes.
Big time. And what really jumps out is this core issue of injustice, just like how they're treating the most vulnerable people.
Yeah, it's like a complete disregard for their well-being.
Like they don't even matter.
Right, and it shows us that God is deeply invested in how his people treat each other.
It's not just about outward religious practices.
Absolutely not. It's about how we live out our faith and our relationships with others. And that brings us to what I think is the heart of this deep dive.
Yeah.
How can we really understand the stringent concern of God for justice and what it means for us today?
Yeah, how do we make sure our lives are actually reflecting compassion and true integrity?
Right, because it's easy to say we care, but how do we back that up with action?
Exactly. So the devotion kicks off with lesson 1, the sin of wrongly using others. Let's dig into that a bit.
All right, so let's go back to those verses in Amos for a second.
Okay.
It's pretty clear that God, speaking through the prophet, is exposing some really messed up stuff happening in Israel.
Messed up how?
Like selling innocent people just for silver.
Wow.
And the needy, the people who are struggling the most, they're being traded for something as worthless as a pair of sandals.
That's heartbreaking.
It is, and the devotion points out that that wasn't just like a one-time thing.
It was a pattern.
Yeah, like a way of life built on taking advantage of others. And that's where you really see God's anger burning.
I mean, you can feel the righteous anger in those verses. For me, the part that's so disturbing is how it shows this total dehumanization of people.
Right, they're not even seen as human beings anymore, just commodities.
Yeah, like their worth is reduced to the price of some basic goods.
It's like forgetting that each person is made in the image of God.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is where things get really real for us today.
Okay, why is that?
Because it forces us to confront how we're treating the people around us.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
Are we truly valuing their inherent dignity?
That's such a powerful question because it's so easy to get caught up in our own lives and forget about the needs of others.
Yeah, we can be so oblivious sometimes. And the devotion makes it crystal clear that God sees all of this.
Like, he's not just focused on our religious activities.
He's watching how we're interacting with each other in our daily lives.
It's like he's saying, hey, how you're treating that person that matters to me.
It's not just some side issue for him. It's central to who he is.
He prioritizes the vulnerable, the ones who are hurting and struggling.
So this isn't just some social justice topic we can choose to care about or not.
It's way bigger than that. It's about our relationship with God. It's a sobering thought, isn't it?
It really is. When we exploit people or just don't even notice their needs, we're basically acting against God's character.
He's all about justice and compassion.
So the question we have to ask ourselves is, are our actions lining up with those values?
That's the heart of it right there. So how do we even begin to apply this to our lives?
Well, the devotion offers some really practical steps we can take.
Okay, I'm all ears.
The first one is about being more intentional in our relationships.
Okay, what does that look like?
It says, take time to check in with others. Ask how they're doing and really listen.
Not just like a quick, hey, how are you doing?
Right. It's about going deeper than the surface level stuff.
Like really being present with that person?
Exactly. And that kind of deep listening can make a world of difference.
It helps us build empathy and understand where someone is coming from.
And the devotion reminds us to bear one another's burdens.
Which means we're there for each other through thick and thin.
Celebrations and struggles.
Absolutely.
Then the focus shifts inward and encourages us to actually pray about this stuff. Pray for a heart that loves deeply and cares for others willingly, not out of duty, but out of love.
That's a huge distinction, isn't it?
It is.
Because love that flows from a changed heart is so much more powerful than just doing things out of obligation.
It's like the difference between going through the motions and actually caring.
Yeah, it totally transforms how we engage with the world.
The next point the devotion makes is all about building community.
Community, okay.
Yeah, like our churches or any close-knit group we're part of.
Right.
And it's about making sure everyone truly feels seen and loved and supported in those spaces.
So no one feels like an outsider.
Exactly. Because when we do community well, it actually reflects God's care for humanity.
It's like we're putting our faith into practice.
Yeah, where fairness and compassion are more than just words.
They're lived out in a real way.
And finally, the devotion encourages us to live with open hands. Be generous with our time, our words of encouragement, even the smallest acts of kindness.
Because those little things can have a big impact.
Sometimes it's the smallest gestures that mean the most.
It's all about letting our love for God spill over into how we treat the people around us.
Right. Love God, love people. Okay, so that brings us to lesson 2. God will make things right.
Okay, so now we're talking about consequences.
Exactly. The devotion points out that even though Israel had all this outward religious stuff going on,
Right, they were doing all the ritual.
and they were proud of their nation and they had wealth,
They thought they were untouchable.
like they were above being held accountable, but God wasn't fooled.
Nope. He saw right through it.
He gave them a clear warning. If you don't change your ways, there will be consequences.
God's justice is real.
And it might be patient, but it's not going to wait forever.
So this tells us something about God's patience, doesn't it?
I think so.
He gives us so many chances to turn things around.
But ultimately, He is just.
Our actions matter.
They have real weight, both individually and as a society.
So how does this apply to us today?
The devotion reminds us that while God is incredibly patient, He's not indifferent to injustice.
He sees it all.
And that warning He gave to Israel wasn't meant to scare them,
It was more like a loving plea.
to turn away from what was destroying them.
He wants what's best for us.
It's like a parent disciplining their child because they love them.
Yeah, it comes from a place of deep care.
The devotion really emphasizes that God wants restoration more than punishment.
But there are consequences to ignoring his voice.
Yeah, we can't just pretend everything's fine when it's not.
There's this balance we have to understand between God's mercy and his justice.
It's not about Him being vindictive or waiting to strike us down.
He's a loving father who corrects us because he wants us to be aligned with his ways.
And He wants us to be whole. So how do we actually live this out?
Yeah, how do we take this understanding of consequences and make it practical?
The devotion starts with this call to do a heart check.
The heart check.
Yeah, it's about asking God to reveal any areas where we might be hurting others,
Even the things we're not aware of.
or the things we're trying to ignore.
That can be tough to face.
It can, but it's also incredibly freeing.
To be honest with ourselves and with God.
It takes humility to really examine our motives and actions,
And a willingness to let God work in us.
to bring about real lasting change.
That's what it's all about.
Then the devotion challenges us to live righteously in every area of our lives.
Our work, our relationships, the choices we make every day.
It's about reflecting God's character through honesty and integrity.
Not just talking the talk, but walking the walk.
Exactly. Our beliefs should be evident in the way we live,
It's about integrating our faith into everything we do.
not just compartmentalizing it.
It should influence how we interact with the world and with each other.
And we're also called to stand for what's right,
To actively support what honors God.
whether it's through our actions or our donations or speaking up for what we believe in.
Sometimes that takes courage.
It does, because it might cost us something,
But it's about being God's hands and feet in the world.
making a difference. And finally, this lesson emphasizes the importance of humility, being teachable and open to correction.
Letting God's Spirit shape us.
It's a reminder that spiritual growth is a journey, not a destination.
We never arrive.
We're always learning and growing.
And that posture of humility is so essential for that growth.
It's admitting that we don't have all the answers.
And that we need God's grace to refine us.
The devotion ends this section by encouraging us to let God keep working in our lives,
So we can become more like him.
reflecting His love, His mercy, His righteousness.
That's the goal, isn't it?
It is. And there's this prayer in the devotion that sums up everything so beautifully. It's asking God to help us reflect his heart, to be more aware of the needs around us,
To give us the courage to stand up for what's right.
and to live justly, love mercifully, walk humbly.
It's not just about head knowledge.
It's about putting our faith into action.
Living it out in our daily life.
And the one word the devotion leaves us with is so powerful.
What is it?
Learn to reflect God's heart in my life.
Wow, that's so good.
It's like a challenge to take everything we've learned and put it into practice.
It brings the whole deep dive full circle.
It does. So when we step back and look at the big picture, what Amos is really showing us is that God cares deeply about justice.
And how we treat each other.
It's not just about religious rituals. It's about how we're treating the most vulnerable people among us.
It's about our hearts.
And the devotion gives us some really practical ways to examine ourselves.
Are we truly listening to the people around us?
Are we supporting them?
Are we praying for a heart that genuinely loves others?
Are we part of communities where everyone feels valued and included?
Are we living with integrity?
These are the questions we need to be asking ourselves.
It's a call to action.
To move beyond just hearing these words, to actually living them out.
So what's one small step we can each take this week to show compassion?
To stand against injustice in our own little corner of the world.
It doesn't have to be something huge.
Just one concrete action that reflects God's heart.
What will it be?
That's something for each of us to think about.
And to act on.
Until next time.
See you then.